Hello, gorgeous. Let's dig deep into the difference between direct and indirect manifestation. Now, for that, let's start from the simple observation that each and every relationship goes through three very distinct stages of development, or as I call them, three acts. Now, when I say every relationship, I mean every single relationship. Not just interpersonal, not just intimate relationships, but your relationship to money, your relationship to a new job, to a new house, to a new car. Every relation goes through stages of development or acts. Act 1, the stage of codependence. We all start out each and every new relationship from a state of codependence, from a state of needing, wanting, looking for outside external sources for our own happiness. Believe it or not, unfortunately, we're all very guilty of that we assume that when I have the money, I will be happy. When I have the soulmate relationship, I will be fulfilled and satisfied. When I have the power and freedom, I will be at a state of my life that I get to call as being proud of myself. The only issue with that is that the when never comes. Because you're trying to create something out of a state of the complete opposite vibration. Energetically, vibrationally, when you put it out there into the universe that you want something, that you need something, you automatically put yourself into the vibrational state of not having it. You cannot create abundance from a being of lack. You cannot create a soulmate relationship or true love or passion or satisfaction, sexual or otherwise, from a state, from a being of unworthiness. You cannot create power and freedom from a being of limitations. Once you go through this first stage for yourself and realize that the sense of neediness or wanting is not going to get you there, then the natural second step, Act 2, is independence. The state of independence gives you a sense of authority. It gives you a sense of ownership. Now, you don't need anyone to be happy. You don't need the money to feel abundant. You don't need the power position to feel like you have a team or to have a tribe or to belong. You will do it even if you have to do it all by yourself. It's an incredibly empowering state. On a societal level, it gives us the Rosa Parks of the world. It gives us activism. It gives us feminist movements. It gives us the Me Too movement. It is a necessary step, but it is not the end game. Act 3 is interdependence. The state of two or more individuals coming together in freedom to co-create. You're not going into the relationship or the partnership or the business with a sense of need or a sense of lack. You go into the agreement with fully being capable of taking care of yourself, with full authority, with full responsibility for yourself, and you go in there with a sense of freedom and power to create out of nothingness. It is a sense of pure creativity in the moment-to-moment existence. Now, how does this relate to direct and indirect manifestation? The first two stages, Act 1 and 2, are the old ways, the old paradigm of direct manifestation. They are pretty much the two sides of the same coin, because neediness and wanting and not having is pretty much just the flip side of ownership. When you own something, you still have that underlying fear of losing, failure. When you own a certain thing, you pull a boundary around that and you say that whatever is within my boundary, that is mine, that belongs to me. Whatever is outside of my boundary, that is not mine. I do not have the access to it, but I do not need the access to it, because I am happy with my own kingdom, with my own authority, with my own ownership. These are the old ways of looking at the world. I call it separation consciousness, polarity consciousness, duality consciousness. And again, there's nothing wrong with those stages. Those are natural first and second steps of every single relationship. Those are evolutionary steps, developmental steps. And each and every relationship has all three steps, all three stages, all three acts, all throughout. We are human beings. We're never full and perfect. We're just works in progress. We're flipping back and forth between those minds, between those consciousnesses, between those stages. And there is a cyclical nature to a relationship. Whenever you reach Act 3, there will become that third stage will turn into an up-leveling of a next level first stage. You're going to want and need a level higher up, a more true, more honest, more authentic, but still a needy or still a lacking state of awareness. The first two stages, the first two acts, are all about goal setting and achieving. There's a sense of mission, there's a sense of purpose, and unless you achieve, unless you win, you lose. Now, instead of that, Act 3 is what I call unity consciousness. The boundaries of the self, the boundaries of ownership dissolve, and we're free to create out of nothing, out of pure potentiality, together in coexistence. In that state, when you realize that you don't own anything, then you can have the free access to everything. If you don't own any money, then you have the access to all the money in the world. And I'm not saying empty out your bank accounts. That's not what I mean by that. What I mean is the state of being, your inner internal state of whether you are monitoring your bank account and looking at every penny that you own or don't own, or have the freedom and the flow of, if it's not my money and doesn't belong to me, that doesn't mean that I do not have the access to it and I cannot become the channel for it to flow right through me, so that I get to use that money for whatever I wish, and I channel it from one source to another source, and I get to create in that flow state. The same thing with a relationship, with an intimate relationship, with a soulmate relationship. When you don't own the other person, when you don't claim ownership over your partner, your husband, your wife, your relationship to another human being, then you're free to come and go within the relationship. You don't feel the commitment, that you don't feel that it's a burden. You feel that it's your freedom of choice to be committed to that partner. It doesn't mean that you're going to change partners. You can still be committed to the same partner for a lifetime, but instead of a necessity or a burden or an expectation, it becomes the freedom of choice. And that's the biggest difference between those relationships, that the first two stages, the first two acts are all about goal setting and achieving. They are directional from A to B. They are a very masculine sense of creation, which gives you a tunnel vision and a sense of competition with the universe. If I want something and I'm not having it, that gives me a sense of anxiety, that gives me a sense of failure, that gives me a sense of guilt or shame, because I've pulled boundaries within which I have the authority, within which I can operate. Now, instead of that, when you start loosening your boundaries and when you start focusing on not goal setting, but intentional being and becoming, that's when you feel unity with the entire universe. That's when you become limitless. So instead of goals, Act 3 is all about intentions. You create the space within yourself for a state of being. You embody who you wish to become. You embody what you wish to have. You don't have abundance. You are abundance. You don't have a soulmate. You are your own soulmate. You don't have the power and freedom. You are powerful and free. So this week, I encourage you to choose one intention for yourself that you wish to be, wish to become, wish to embody. And the aim here is not to hold on to that state of being. You will forget it, you will get triggered, you will step out of that state. That's absolutely normal. You will create circumstances, scripts, and roles for yourself when you will be challenged. That's natural. You will sabotage yourself just so that you can prove to yourself how much you've learned, how much you've evolved, and how much you've become. Good for you. And I'm only saying this because I do the exact same thing to myself and for myself. For the past 2 weeks, my intention is to be connection. So I've created and manifested situations for myself when I feel triggered, when I feel that I'm in conflict, when I feel closed off. And my job in that specific present moment reality is to become connection again, is to ease into the sense of connection. Open up my heart and relax into being connection. And as soon as I do that, connection comes, connection arrives, connection is my reality. By changing my internal state, I change my external experience. By changing my personality, I change my personal reality. And again, the aim here is not to hold on to that state as a constant, permanent state of being. The aim is to be able to flexibly return to that state as many times as you remember. Whenever you get triggered, whenever you get upset, whenever you forget and suddenly remember, just be able to return to that state of being. So I encourage you to pick one intention for yourself for the week and practice it as often as you can remember. The worksheet for this week is actually going to give you that question. So you can share that with me, you can put it in writing, you can manifest it in the first level of manifestation, in the level of language. Language has the power of creation. Use it with intention. Use it as a surgeon. If you say that you are, you are. Thank you for this week. I wish you the best of luck with your intention. Please let me know what that is. So it exists in both of our realities. It doesn't just exist in your head, but I will create you for that intention within my reality as well. I will be able to support you, to create this space for you as well, to become that intention and be able to show up in our relationship as that intention that you set out for yourself. Much love.